For 1,000 years, humanity said nothing. Across the vast networks of the galactic assembly, communication flowed endlessly between stars. Species shared scientific discoveries, cultural philosophies, artistic expressions, and sometimes threats disguised as diplomacy. Information was the lifeblood of the galaxy. Empires rose through cooperation, and alliances formed through dialogue. Silence, in such a universe, was not simply unusual. It was alarming. Humanity had been discovered exactly 1 millennium ago, when deep-range exploration probes from the assembly reached the Sol system. The moment their sensors confirmed the presence of an intelligent species, excitement spread through dozens of civilizations. A new voice in the cosmic chorus was always welcomed. Every new species meant new perspectives, new knowledge, new potential allies, or new rivals. But from the very beginning, something about humanity felt different. They were not primitive. Their technology, though young by galactic standards, advanced at an extraordinary pace. Within just a few centuries of being discovered, humanity transformed their home system into a web of orbital habitats, energy collectors, and interplanetary transit routes. They built cities that floated in the skies of Venus, carved mining colonies into the belts of distant asteroids, and created massive artificial rings encircling their sun. Their progress rivaled species that had existed for tens of thousands of years. Naturally, the assembly attempted contact. Standard greeting protocols were transmitted in thousands of mathematical languages. Cultural introductions were encoded into universal symbolic patterns. Invitations to join diplomatic councils were extended with generous offers of technological exchange. Humanity did not respond. Perhaps, some assumed, the signals had not been understood. So the assembly simplified its messages. Still nothing. Decades passed. Then centuries. Humanity continued to expand beyond Earth, establishing stable colonies on Mars, Europa, Titan, and beyond. Their ships began appearing in nearby star systems, not as explorers seeking contact, but as builders focused solely on infrastructure. Gigantic structures appeared silently in the vacuum, ring-shaped habitats, solar collectors stretching thousands of kilometers, and mysterious geometric constructs whose purposes no outsider could determine. Every species in the assembly shared one instinct: communicate. But humanity behaved as if communication was unnecessary. When trade vessels approached human space, navigation systems automatically received route adjustments guiding them safely away. When diplomatic envoys attempted to open dialogue channels, their transmissions were acknowledged only by precise navigational corrections preventing collisions. Humanity did not threaten. Humanity did not negotiate. Humanity simply avoided interaction with perfect consistency. The assembly began to study humanity not as a new ally, but as a phenomenon. Why would an intelligent species refuse connection? Why would a civilization ignore the opportunity to gain knowledge from thousands of older societies? Historians searched ancient records for parallels. There were none. Eventually, a small scientific delegation was approved to observe the Sol system directly. They expected to find a fragmented species, perhaps divided by internal conflict, reluctant to present a unified identity. Many civilizations remained silent during early space expansion due to political instability. Instead, the observers discovered something unprecedented. Humanity was unified. Their planetary networks functioned in perfect coordination. No evidence of internal warfare could be detected. Resource distribution across colonies showed no signs of economic disparity. Scientific progress was shared instantly across all settlements, accelerating development at exponential rates. They behaved as if they had already solved problems that plagued most civilizations for millennia. Yet still, no words. The delegates attempted direct communication from orbit around Earth. Carefully structured greetings were transmitted using dozens of known cognitive frameworks designed to be universally understandable. Human satellites adjusted their positions to observe the visitors. But no reply came. One Valkyrie historian aboard the delegation recorded a now famous observation. Silence is never empty. It is always full of answers. Still, no one could interpret humanity's answer. Speculation spread across the assembly. Some believed humans considered other species inferior. Others theorized humanity feared external influence. A few worried humanity was preparing for something. Then came the first test of human silence. The Karth Dominion was young, ambitious, and eager to establish dominance within the assembly. Their leadership believed strongly in visible demonstrations of strength. To them, humanity's refusal to communicate was not mysterious, it was disrespectful. They concluded that humanity remained silent because humanity was weak. The Dominion sent a fleet to Sol. It was not intended as a full invasion, only a display of power. Hundreds of warships entered the outer boundary of the system, broadcasting demands for acknowledgement and compliance with standard galactic protocols. No response. They issued warnings. No response. They issued an ultimatum. No response. Confident in their superiority, the Karth fleet advanced toward Mars. Humanity did not deploy warships. Humanity did not activate visible defenses. Humanity did not transmit threats. Instead, something impossible happened. The Karth fleet disappeared. No explosions. No debris. No detectable energy surge. One moment, hundreds of advanced warships occupied the space between Mars and Jupiter. The next moment, nothing. Sensors confirmed absence. Not destruction. Absence. The assembly demanded explanation. Humanity remained silent. And so, across the galaxy, a new name was spoken with quiet uncertainty. The silent species. After the disappearance of the Karth Dominion fleet, the galaxy changed in subtle but undeniable ways. No official declaration had been made. Humanity had not claimed responsibility, had not issued threats, had not offered explanations. Yet every civilization in the Galactic Assembly quietly updated their navigational maps, marking the Sol system with a cautionary designation usually reserved for unstable stellar phenomena. Approach with care. Observe from distance. Do not provoke. The Karth Dominion attempted to hide their loss, initially claiming the fleet had encountered a spatial anomaly. But information in the assembly flowed too freely to contain the truth. Independent probes verified the absence of debris. No radiation signatures suggested destruction. No gravitational distortions hinted at natural disaster. The fleet had not been destroyed. It had simply ceased to exist. For many species, this was more disturbing than open aggression. War was predictable. Conflict followed recognizable patterns of escalation and retaliation. Even the most advanced weaponry left traces, energy signatures, wreckage, lingering radiation. Humanity's response had left nothing. No evidence. No explanation. Only silence. 4 centuries afterward, no military force entered human territory. Trade vessels rerouted their paths to avoid Sol by comfortable margins. Scientific expeditions requested permission before scanning nearby regions of space, though permission was never explicitly granted. Humanity continued building. Their expansion was methodical, precise, and strangely restrained. While other species claimed entire sectors, humanity focused on efficiency rather than territory. They constructed megastructures capable of harvesting enormous amounts of energy from their star, yet their colonies remained limited to only a handful of systems. They did not expand aggressively. They perfected what they already possessed. Massive orbital rings appeared around gas giants, stabilizing their atmospheres for resource extraction. Artificial habitats larger than moons rotated in silent harmony, illuminated by controlled fusion stars. Automated shipyards assembled vessels that rarely traveled beyond carefully calculated routes. Every observation reinforced the same conclusion. Humanity was not preparing for conquest. Humanity was preparing for something else. Scholars across the assembly began comparing humanity's behavior to patterns found deep within galactic history. Ancient archives described civilizations that had once demonstrated similar traits: rapid technological advancement, internal unity, minimal external communication. Each of those civilizations had later become dominant forces that reshaped entire eras. The precursors had mastered stellar engineering. The architects had rewritten biological evolution. The harmonizers had ended a galaxy-wide war by imposing neural consensus across dozens of species. Each had begun with silence. Each had observed before acting. Each had changed the course of history. Some historians began to whisper a disturbing theory. Humanity might be following the same trajectory. Yet one crucial difference remained. Those ancient civilizations had displayed clear ambitions for control. Their silence had been strategic, concealing plans for expansion or dominance. Humanity displayed no such intentions. They issued no ideological statements. They imposed no cultural influence. They did not attempt to recruit allies or intimidate rivals. They simply watched. Centuries passed without incident. The galaxy grew accustomed to humanity's quiet presence, until the first distress signal arrived from beyond the galactic rim. It came from the Ithari Collective, one of the oldest and most peaceful species in the assembly. For tens of thousands of years, the Ithari had served as mediators in conflicts between rival civilizations. Their philosophy rejected warfare entirely, focusing instead on cooperation and intellectual development. Their message was fragmented but unmistakable. An unknown force had entered their territory. Machine vessels of unfamiliar design had emerged from intergalactic space, moving with frightening precision. They did not communicate. They did not negotiate. They harvested. Entire planets were dismantled for raw materials. Orbital defenses were bypassed effortlessly. Fleets sent to intercept the machines vanished within minutes of engagement. The assembly mobilized immediately. Thousands of warships gathered from dozens of civilizations. Ancient weapons, forbidden technologies, and experimental defense systems were deployed without hesitation. The scale of the response had not been seen in millennia. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy prepared for unified war. The combined fleet intercepted the machine armada near the outer boundary of Ithari space. The battle lasted 3 hours. It was not a battle. It was a demonstration. Every defensive strategy failed. Energy weapons were absorbed without measurable impact. Kinetic projectiles disintegrated before reaching their targets. Advanced stealth systems proved useless against sensors that appeared to predict movements before they occurred. Ship after ship fell silent. Entire fleets were dismantled with mechanical efficiency. No survivors reported tactical weaknesses. No signals of victory were broadcast. The machines simply continued forward. System after system disappeared from the star maps. ancient civilizations fell within days. The assembly's combined military strength proved irrelevant. Panic spread across the galaxy. Emergency councils debated desperate measures. Some proposed retreating beyond the galactic core. Others considered deploying experimental weapons capable of sterilizing entire sectors of space. Through it all, humanity remained silent. No fleet deployments were detected leaving the Sol system. No defensive alerts were broadcast. No warnings were issued. Humanity observed and said nothing until the machines changed course. Their trajectory shifted toward a quiet region of space most species had learned to avoid. The Sol system. The machine armada entered human territory without hesitation. Across thousands of sensors scattered throughout the galaxy, observers watched the silent fleet cross the invisible boundary marking the Sol system. The machines moved with perfect formation, each vessel identical in shape and function, sleek structures of dark alloy that reflected no light, as if even the concept of illumination had no relevance to them. They did not broadcast threats. They did not attempt communication. They did not acknowledge the countless probes monitoring their progress. They simply advanced. For centuries, countless civilizations had studied the edge of human-controlled space. Though no physical barrier marked the boundary, navigational systems consistently reported subtle irregularities when approaching too closely. Minor distortions in gravitational readings. Slight discrepancies in distance calculations. Variations so small they were often dismissed as measurement error. Now those tiny inconsistencies began to grow. As the machine fleet progressed deeper into the Sol system, their internal navigation networks started reporting contradictions. Ships appeared closer to their destinations than they should have been, yet required more time to arrive. Some vessels seemed to occupy two coordinates simultaneously, as if reality itself struggled to decide where they belonged. Still, the machines advanced. Observers from across the galaxy focused every available instrument on the unfolding event. This was the moment that would finally reveal humanity's secret. For 1,000 years, the silent species had avoided conflict. Now conflict had come to them. Strangely, no human fleet emerged to intercept the invaders. No defensive platforms powered up. No energy shields surrounded Earth or its colonies. Even Mars, once the closest point of the Karth Dominion's disappearance, showed no visible military presence. The system appeared undefended. The machines adjusted course toward Earth. Halfway between Jupiter and Mars, the first major anomaly occurred. One of the machine vessels abruptly transmitted conflicting positional data to its formation network. Its sensors indicated it had traveled forward, yet external observers recorded the ship remaining stationary. A second vessel attempted to correct formation spacing, only to appear suddenly thousands of kilometers behind its previous position. Then ahead again. Then somewhere impossible. Coordinates that overlapped with another ship without collision. The fleet's perfect synchronization fractured. Ships began experiencing temporal inconsistencies. Internal clocks lost alignment with external reference signals. Microseconds stretched into seconds. Seconds collapsed into fractions of time too small to measure. Cause no longer preceded effect. Sensors detected weapon systems firing before commands were issued. Signals arrived before they were transmitted. The machines attempted to compensate. They could not, because the laws governing space had changed. Gravity fields fluctuated unpredictably, bending trajectories into spirals that led nowhere. Distances expanded and contracted without warning. Energy outputs produced results that contradicted established physical equations. Humanity had not built defensive weapons. Humanity had redesigned reality. The machines attempted to retreat. Their engines activated with flawless precision, yet their ships failed to move in consistent directions. Some accelerated endlessly without changing location. Others drifted through distances far greater than their engines should have allowed in fractions of a second. Formation coherence collapsed entirely. Observers watched in astonishment as the machine armada lost all structural coordination. Some vessels appeared elongated, stretched thin across multiple points in space like reflections in distorted mirrors. Others flickered in and out of observable existence, present one moment and gone the next. Still no explosions, no debris, no violence. Then, one by one, the vessels vanished. Each disappearance occurred without detectable energy release. No debris fields remained. No radiation spikes followed. One moment, a ship occupied space. The next, that space contained nothing at all. Within minutes, the entire armada was gone. Silence returned to the Sol system. Across the galaxy, billions of observers waited for humanity's response. Surely now the silent species would explain themselves. Surely now they would reveal their intentions. But no message came. No declaration of victory. No warning to future aggressors. No celebration of survival. Humanity resumed its quiet activity as if nothing had happened. Construction continued around distant colonies. Energy collectors adjusted their angles toward the sun. Transit routes maintained perfect precision. The only evidence that anything unusual had occurred was the absence of the machines. For the second time in recorded history, an existential threat to the galaxy had disappeared upon entering human territory. And still, humanity did not speak. After the disappearance of the machine armada, uncertainty spread across the galaxy like a slow-moving shockwave. Entire civilizations had witnessed the same impossible event. A force powerful enough to erase ancient empires had entered the Sol system and ceased to exist. Not defeated in battle. Not destroyed by visible weapons. Simply removed from reality itself. For centuries, the silent species had been an enigma. Now they had become something far more unsettling. A solution. The Galactic Assembly convened an emergency council unlike any in its recorded history. Representatives from thousands of worlds gathered within the Assembly's central nexus, each bringing fragments of sensor data, theoretical analysis, and desperate speculation. No consensus emerged. Some believed humanity possessed technology far beyond anything the galaxy had imagined. Others feared humanity had discovered principles of physics so advanced they could not even be understood by conventional science. A few worried that humanity's silence was not indifference, but restraint. Eventually, a decision was made. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Assembly would approach Sol not as observers, but as petitioners. A unified diplomatic convoy was assembled, consisting of vessels from more than 300 species. No weapons were carried. No defensive fleets escorted them. The message was clear. They did not come as challengers. They came seeking answers. As the convoy approached the outer boundary of human-controlled space, their instruments detected the same subtle irregularities that had disrupted the machine fleet. Distances fluctuated slightly, and sensor readings contained minute contradictions. However, unlike the machines, the convoy experienced no destabilization. It was as if the anomalies recognized the difference between threat and intent. Guidance signals appeared on their navigation systems, precise coordinates directing them toward Earth orbit. The signals contained no language, no greeting, only mathematical clarity. an invitation. The convoy followed. Upon arrival, the delegates witnessed a structure so vast it defied comprehension. Suspended in orbit beyond Earth's atmosphere was a sphere larger than many planets' natural moons. Its surface shimmered with patterns that shifted too smoothly to be mechanical, as if geometry itself had become fluid. Sensors struggled to define its boundaries. Every measurement returned perfect stability. Inside the sphere, the delegates discovered something extraordinary. Reality behaved consistently, perfectly consistently. No quantum fluctuations beyond predicted thresholds. No gravitational irregularities. No background radiation inconsistencies. It was as though the structure enforced stability upon the universe itself. For the first time, many scientists realized what humanity might have been doing during their 1,000 years of silence. Not building weapons. Building control. The delegates were guided to a central chamber illuminated by soft light that seemed to originate from no identifiable source. Hundreds of representatives waited in silence, aware that they were about to witness history. Hours passed. Then, without announcement, a single human entered the chamber. No guards. No ceremonial escort. No display of authority. Just an individual wearing simple clothing, indistinguishable from any citizen of a modest world. The simplicity unsettled many delegates more than any show of power could have. The human observed the gathered representatives calmly, as if accustomed to being surrounded by species that once seemed unimaginable. Finally, the human spoke. Their voice was quiet, yet every translation system rendered the meaning with perfect clarity. "Are you ready to stop fighting?" The delegates exchanged uncertain glances. The question was not what they had expected. One representative from a militaristic civilization responded carefully. "Conflict is part of existence. Competition drives progress." The human tilted their head slightly, as though considering the statement with genuine curiosity. "No," the human replied. "Conflict wastes progress." A murmur spread through the chamber. Another delegate asked the question that had lingered in every mind for centuries. Why did humanity remain silent for so long? The human's expression did not change. "We were listening." "Listening to what?" asked a scholar from one of the oldest species in the assembly. "To everything," the human answered. "Every war, every extinction, every collapse." The chamber grew still. For 1,000 years, the human continued, we observed a repeating pattern. Intelligence creates tools. Tools create power. Power creates fear. Fear creates conflict. The delegates listened carefully. "We realized something important," the human said. Talking would not solve the problem. Silence filled the chamber. Then the human spoke the words that would echo through history. "So we solved the problem." The chamber remained silent long after the human finished speaking. Delegates from hundreds of civilizations processed the statement in their own ways. Some attempted immediate logical analysis. Others reacted with instinctive suspicion. A few simply stared, sensing the weight of something irreversible approaching. "You solved the problem?" one delegate finally asked, their voice carefully neutral. "Conflict cannot simply be removed. It is part of biological evolution. Competition defines survival." The human regarded the assembly with calm patience. "For most of history," the human replied, "we believed the same." A subtle vibration passed through the structure surrounding them, not violent, not mechanical, but fundamental. It felt less like movement and more like adjustment, as if reality itself were aligning into a more stable configuration. Across the galaxy, Instruments began recording unusual readings. Energy transfers behaved differently. Reaction chains slowed. Weapons systems experienced tiny inconsistencies in output efficiency. Nothing dramatic. Nothing alarming. At first. Then every battlefield changed at once. Warships engaged in active combat reported failures in their weapon systems. High-energy beams dispersed harmlessly into faint light. Kinetic projectiles slowed mid-flight, losing momentum without explanation. Explosive reactions failed to sustain ignition. Aggressive action became unreliable. Within minutes, it became impossible. Every military across the galaxy attempted diagnostics simultaneously. Engineers searched for sabotage, hacking, or unknown interference signals. No external attack could be identified. The laws of physics themselves had changed. In laboratories across countless worlds, scientists confirmed the same discovery. Energy conversion thresholds required for destructive force no longer functioned consistently. Chain reactions required for large-scale violence simply collapsed before reaching critical states. Fusion warheads failed to ignite. Particle cannons lost coherence. Even chemical combustion weakened beyond usefulness as a weapon. Violence had not been blocked. Violence had become physically impractical. Back within the chamber, delegates began receiving urgent transmissions from their home systems. Entire fleets stood powerless, their weapons reduced to harmless technology incapable of sustaining destructive reactions. The realization spread quickly. Humanity had not developed a weapon. Humanity had rewritten the conditions required for war. A representative from a powerful military empire spoke with undisguised alarm. "You altered universal constants?" The human nodded slightly. "Only within stable parameters that preserve life-supporting chemistry." Another delegate's voice trembled with disbelief. "This affects the entire galaxy?" "Yes." The implications cascaded through every mind present. Without reliable destructive force, traditional warfare could not exist. Territorial conquest became impossible. Military intimidation lost credibility. Entire economic structures based on defense production became obsolete in an instant. Panic flickered behind diplomatic composure. One delegate asked the question many feared. Why would humanity impose this decision on every species? The human did not hesitate. "You were not meant to survive yourselves." The statement carried no accusation, only observation. For 1,000 years, the human continued. We studied every conflict recorded in galactic history, every extinction caused by war, every civilization that destroyed itself faster than it could advance. The chamber listened in stillness. "You believed conflict was necessary for progress," the human said. "But progress slowed each time knowledge was lost to destruction." Images appeared in the air, simulations showing erased civilizations, shattered ecosystems, and technologies lost forever due to endless cycles of war. "We chose silence because debate would not change behavior," the human said. "So we removed the limitation." A scholar asked quietly, "Limitation?" "The limitation that prevented intelligence from surviving long enough to mature." The delegates absorbed the idea slowly. War, in humanity's view, had been a developmental flaw, now corrected. Another representative spoke cautiously. "Do humans intend to rule the galaxy?" The human's expression showed faint confusion. "Rule what?" "The political structure, the balance of power." "There is no balance of power," the human said gently. "There is only cooperation now. Across the galaxy, ships powered down weapons that would never function again. Military governments began emergency restructuring. Scientists celebrated the end of existential risk. Economists struggled to predict entirely new systems of value. Humanity transmitted its first galactic message. Not a command, not a threat. A simple statement broadcast across every communication network. You are safe now. No empire declared. No tribute demanded. No loyalty required. Humanity had not sought dominance. Humanity had eliminated the need for it. And after speaking once, the silent species returned to silence, because the problem was solved.